He could buy half the city, but the first thing he ever wanted was the one thing that looked him in the eye and said no. I was wiping rain from the front window of Bennett's Books when the black town car stopped at the curb like it owned the block. Men like Adrian Vale didn't come to neighborhoods like mine unless they wanted something cleaned up, signed over, or silenced. He stepped out in a charcoal coat worth more than my monthly rent, carrying an envelope thick enough to change my life. I pushed it back across the counter. His eyes dropped to the envelope, then back to me, calm and unreadable, like he was not used to anyone returning anything to him. Rain tapped against the glass. The old radiator hissed behind the register. I could smell dust, paper, and the coffee I had reheated twice that morning. "You should take it," he said quietly. His voice did not rise, but the room still felt smaller. I folded my arms and shook my head. "Money is easy for men like you," I told him. "Living with yourself is harder." For the first time, Adrian Vale did not look powerful. He looked surprised and somehow interested. I should have looked away first, but something in his silence held me there. Outside, a city bus groaned past the window, splashing rain against the curb. Inside my shop, the clock above the poetry shelf clicked loud enough to feel personal. Adrian rested one gloved hand on the counter, not threatening, not careless, just certain. Men like him were always certain. "Then tell me what this is about," he said. I let out a breath I had been holding since the car appeared. "It is about the fact that you think everything broken can be fixed with cash." His gaze sharpened. "And you do not." "No," I said. "Some things need honesty first." The envelope stayed between us like a dare neither of us wanted to touch again. I could hear Mrs. Alvarez in the back sorting donated paperbacks for the Saturday literacy drive, her soft humming floating through the cracked doorway. That was my world. Secondhand shelves, leaky pipes, people who gave what they could and stayed anyway. Adrian glanced past me, taking it all in with those cool gray eyes, and I knew he had never stood in a place where money was not the loudest voice in the room. "Honesty," he repeated, almost to himself. Then he looked at me again. "All right, Claire, tell me what I am not seeing." I looked at him, at the coat that still carried the cold of the street, at the man who had probably never waited in line for rent money or counted quarters for bus fare, and I almost laughed from the distance between us. Then I pointed toward the back room where Mrs. Alvarez was stacking books for kids whose parents worked 2 jobs and still came up short. "You are seeing a building," I said softly. "I am seeing names, birthdays, reading lists, people who trust me not to sell their hard days back to them wrapped in charity." Something shifted in his face then, small but real. He finally understood this was not about pride. It was about dignity. He lowered his eyes for 1 second, just one, but it was enough to make the room feel different. Not softer, just real. The rain had slowed outside, leaving silver streaks on the glass and a thin gray light over the shelves. Adrian picked up the envelope, turned it once in his hand, then set it inside his coat without another word. I expected anger, a threat, a cold smile. Instead, he studied the children reading by the back window and asked, almost carefully, "How long have you been keeping this place alive?" I swallowed, suddenly unsure why that question unsettled me more than the money ever had. I should have answered right away,